detail that was new to the presentation of the budget. We also had some substantive conversation around water sewer rates, discussion on the CIP as well, and also PA 359, which allows council to levy a millage for the promotion of the city to collect no more than $50,000. We also shared with you that the current budget does take into account a 2.5% wage increase for all full-time employees, and that union negotiations continue. At the end of that meeting, I shared that for Budget Workshop 2, we would be covering the budget by department, and that we would get your nearly 100% complete budget books to you by the end of the month. Those books were delivered to you last Friday. So with your permission, we could start tonight's work session by department review by you turning to page 51. So the first few slides are the council, the charter commission. So there's going to be your budget book and the slides. We're going to go by that slide by department, and that'll come up. The respective departments will give their overview of last year and what their aspirations are for this year. And then we're open for comments, questions, and Kelly and I will be here to support the respective department. So that being said, we are on City Council. So the one thing that sticks out in this, in regards to your numbers, is the appropriation for the 4th of July. Yes, pardon me, I'm having a vapor lock on the 4th of July. Cost for the 4th of July, for the all those activities, since we're doing the cost allocation model. So that is what your increase you're seeing there from what was requested to what is recommended.
Where's that?
The last two columns, at the bottom row. So this is we're going over the budget by department in totality, and we did provide the details as well to you in that budget book. So is there any questions in regards to City Council's budget? All right, Nick, next slide. Okay, Charter Commission. Charter Commission is basically pretty straightforward. They asked for an increase, and we're giving it to them for the recommended budget of $20,000.
Then in all likelihood, they're not going to utilize that $20,000 because they're potentially wrapping up their tasks. So then where are we going to throw that money? Let's say they use half of it. It's not like it's a lot of money, but where will that wind up?
Kelly Rao, Finance Director. So any unused money from the Charter Commission, once it's closed out and wrapped up, we would do a budget amendment and we'd review the budget. Either it would go back to fund balance, or we would apply it to additional infrastructure, equipment needs, department needs. So we have multiple ideas we could use it for.
Thank you.
Okay, Nick, next slide. City Attorney is basically this. If you would please ignore the bottom part from where it says net of revenues. So if you want just by total appropriations, and we'll get that corrected for the final budget book. So,
I thought that was an interesting little bottom line there.
Yeah. It was a mistake that got through, and it'll be corrected in your final presentation.
It was a test.
A test, yeah, I was thinking that was a lot of money to spend on the attorney, $4 million. Okay.
Any questions regarding the City Attorney? Okay, moving right along. Okay, City Hall, you'll notice that the difference there between the requested and the recommended, that is for the server project.
So that difference is about 60,000.
Correct.
So you had the server, and is it also for the services?
Server, services, any other ancillary supporting stuff that we will likely need.
Which line is that, you said?
Pardon me, sir?
Which line is that?
That's the very bottom line, last two columns.
I don't see the 60,000 on there.
It's a difference.
difference.
233 to 294. I was just questioning what the difference was.
Any questions on City Hall? Okay, moving right along to, I think, my city manager. So if you recall, last year at this time, we had several positions that were in an interim status. We actually had a gap, and then we had an interim, and then we had a gap, and then we had a solution for the treasury. Then we have interim chief of police Vince Smith, who will be replaced by soon-to-be Chief Kelly Baus at the Wednesday's May 17th swearing in. Also, Nick was in a interim status, as well as Ryan McDonald. So we worked through those. We also were successful in getting $1.13 million in grants, with another $6 million pending. I would like to say that I think the council and the administration navigated some rough roads and rough waters as far as our relationship was concerned, but I think we're on the other end of that, and things are much better. We have some stability. We also started, and I believe will complete, the Selfridge Phillips project, so it will be completed during last fiscal year, this current fiscal year. And that was the first major road reconstruction in 12 years in Clawson. So, and last, I believe that Nick had earned the opportunity to become to take over the planning, zoning, and building departments with the addition of his title as Director of Community and Economic Development. So for next year, it's more of the same. Want to continue building on our improved relations, have stability for the administration, for the community, as well as continue to earn and maintain the trust of our residents. And we're going to do that by identifying projects and getting them done, and continue to grow as a team. So the difference you see in the budget there, as far as requested and recommended from the city manager, that is where the PA 365, should you favorably support it, that's that delta there, that difference. So from what was requested to what is recommended. So, and if that changes, we can definitely make that change as well. So, Penny, your questions?
Would that require an amended budget at that point? If we move with the requested budget and then, let's say that.
It'd be pretty simple to do, since it's just sitting right there in mine. So we could do an edit if necessary.
That's going to be for just communications?
Yes. So that would free up $50,000 from the general fund specifically for the promotion of the city. And then that freed up $50,000 could go towards approximately 10 miscellaneous concrete projects.
How much we spend on communications this year?
I want to say that we gathered that was about $110,000. I don't think that was even taken into account, or that was taking into account staff time as well.
So that won't cut, the 50,000 won't cover it.
No, it won't. But the rest of it's being paid through the general fund. So we would take $50,000 of those efforts, and they would be budgeted specifically by the funding of PA 359.
Who's responsible for the website?
Who's responsible for it?
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I've identified who is responsible for it, but there is a collective ownership of it, I would say.
If you wanted to change something, who would you go to?
I'd probably either go to Michelle or Nick. There are some department heads that are proficient in updating the city's website.
So we don't have anybody really looking at it, so we need somebody that's assigned to it, because you got dead pages in there from past mayors.
Yes. And to your point, and then also to, I think Mr. Tinlin has made the point as well, trying to identify somebody that would be kind of the single point for a communications plan, so that those things are in timely, receive timely updates with accurate information, and are updated. And that's one of the things for actually Monday's staff meeting, is to have department heads go back and actually take a look at the content and make sure that it's updated with relevant information. So
Would it be your intent to hire somebody part-time?
it would be the intent to hire somebody part-time,
Is there money
if
in
possible.
there?
Pardon?
Is there money in here to hire?
With that support of PA 359, that would, some of those funds would go towards that, yes.
I'm not talking about going for PA. I'm talking about, we need to do that, whether we go for that or not is,
I didn't look at it from that perspective, that, could we do it? It's possible. I mean, I know that there are some part-time employees that are looking to not be part-time employees anymore. They're retired and don't want to continue on at some point in time. They're working with us, so there is some flexibility as far as staffing is concerned. It's something that I agree we do need to take on, but with PA 359, it would help us kind of identify the role and all the responsibilities as well.
we ever think of just as a summer hire? There's a lot of kids that taking it in college right now.
Well, we can take a look at it, but I don't think that's going to be a one and done. I think it's going to be a continuing maintenance of information and sustainment of.
But it needs maintenance the whole year, but to catch us up and get rid of some of them old comments from 10 years ago.
I think it's not just that, but it's also the promotions too, and the coordination of various entities, whether it's the city, the chamber, the DDA, and I'll even throw the school district in there, so that you can have a more succinct planning and scheduling and promotions of various events and activities, or things that are happening, whether it's a water main break or snow emergency, stuff like that, so.
The money for TxVac Gov, you said it was $4,000?
I don't have those figures in front of me, but I want to say it was somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. $4 grand.
How many people participate?
Nick, how many people do we have using text?
We have a couple hundred people on the notification system, like 600 plus and growing. And then we have frequent people that use the automated response system.
We'd all talked about the recording these council meetings and allowing people to talk. But we were supposed to come back in November and talk about it again. How much are we paying for that a year?
For the option on merge log? That's a $100 option, isn't it? It's a $100 option for each meeting.
Is it already in here?
Well, that's what we're already paying, correct?
We've been paying that for Merge Log.
Yes, so we already have that option, and we're already paying it, and it's already budgeted for, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Raker, the 110,000 we're currently spending on communications. So the PA 359, my understanding is it's simply going to offset some of that and free up 50,000 for the general fund. So for the 110, we're not going to 160,
No,
we're
sir.
seeing a
No,
110.
sir. Yes, sir.
And yet that is going to cover all the things we're talking about here, the current budget of 110.
Yes, sir, I believe it will, yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, finding somebody with the interest, and I think we potentially would have somebody, the interest, the know-how, the wherewithal, is the key function. So that person with that scope of interest and knowledge in that spot can be kind of like a force multiplier, as far as where there may be a handful of us that are muddling through this person can be very proficient in making things happen.
So will the 110 current budget fund that person?
No, that's, to his question, I can't say with confidence not making some staff altercations. Alterations, pardon me, alterations, yes, that's the correct word.
And then what I'm getting at is this, if we have to increase that 110,000 budget, that's going to cut out of the 50,000 offset we'd hope to get. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it'd be offset for, you're correct, just in plain, yes, plain public math, yes.
Okay, because the PA 350 now is kind of originally advertised as, hey, here's $50,000 we can gain for infrastructure, whatever, offset from a communications budget, and now it appears that maybe it won't completely offset. That's the question I'm
Well,
raising.
within combination of staff changes and staff changes and PA 359, I believe we can make it work.
What kind of staff changes would you talk about?
As I mentioned before, there's some part-time, long-time, part-time people that have let us know that they're looking to leave at some point in time. They're working with us.
He's saying some things are going to be changing, and perhaps if things change, he could probably work these responsibilities into a new person who comes along. Is that okay?
That helps. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. My interpretation.
We're going to develop a communications champion, in other words.
Or czar, or however you want to put it.
You got
Better
21K,
term. All right.
you got 21K for a signboard. Is that signboard giving us problems?
No, it's dated though. That thing is at least 15 years old.
It's just, most of the time it's just text. It doesn't need to be a TV screen so they can have a picture of all of us on it.
I don't think we can allow that type of moving screen, right? It depends on what it's for, right? We can't have video because that's not allowed.
And the text one we got is perfect then.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, it wouldn't happen in this budget cycle necessarily. It's just that is something that we would look for. And also the school district is looking to have a presence on Main Street. And so there's even been discussion that we would co-host a more impressive and purposeful electronic message board.
So the 21,000 would be split?
Or they would just simply foot the bill possibly because they'll be putting it on our property. So we've had some preliminary discussions, and I think there's a very collaborative effort there between myself and the superintendent.
So we're truly going to replace the sign in its entirety?
At some point in time, at some point in time, yes.
Okay, so Lou, the $20,000, is that, I guess I didn't catch that in here. Is it, where did you get that number, Lou? I'm just curious.
He got it from me at a previous meeting, I believe.
Okay, all right, but it's not in this budget cycle at this point.
I was just in the conversation for the justification of what those funds would go towards.
Okay,
So
I
we did not
understand.
budget
So
for,
you're
no,
gonna
we did
ask
not
them-
budget for, to replace it this year.
Okay.
We know that it's something that our partnership with the school district who's interested in working with us on, and also that it's a very useful tool, but I think we can get more use out of it by having something a little bit more robust and interactive, so.
So if we pass the levy, we don't have a real solid plan to tell people what we're,
I don't think that's the case at all, sir.
what would be the case we tell them?
I go back to exactly what I've said. It's $50,000 is freed up from the general fund to address communications, and $50,000 worth of communications, and free up $50,000 for, miscellaneous road repair to the tune of 10 miscellaneous concrete projects.
If we go forward with that, I think it'd be very good to have a list of exactly what's done. Because this is a levy after all. We're not going to the citizens asking for
Yeah.
millage. We're basically saying, we shall now impose upon you.
This is true.
$50,000.
Yep.
So yes, if we're going to do that, we need to say, guess what? This is what you got for your
Yeah.
50,000.
Well, and then also too, this is an effort to continue to build, get projects done and build the confidence in this administration that we're moving things forward. And the only way we're going to do that is by getting various projects done throughout the city. And so I know that Selfridge Phillips is, even though it's a big project, it's small and almost inconsequential to the monstrosity we face. So, but I figure if we can justify to the residents we're doing everything that we can with what we have right now, and we can prove it to them, and we're getting these miscellaneous concrete projects done, I can stand before a group of people and advocate for the supporting of a special millage of some sort. Absent us doing projects, it's going to be a tough sell. And this will allow us to do more. So by the time, in all actuality, by the time, if this were to go in effect and be supported next year as well, there's an initial 20 miscellaneous concrete projects that we could have done potentially before a special millage is on the ballot for November 2024.
So this would have to be renewed by the voters every year?
No, sir, it's renewed by the council every
Oh,
year.
that's right, yeah, that's right.
We have surplus money, ARPA funds we could use for,
You got some big things coming down the pike. I'm waiting for Hunter to come back. We've already had an interest in using some of those funds for miscellaneous concrete. That $1.2 million is probably going to go before you for consideration very quickly.
Hey, Joe, could we put that exact wording into the budget for the PA 359? Because that's, feedback I've got is just what is the plan around that spend?
I
Because
believe
you were
it's-
very eloquent at talking about how many cement jobs that'll do,
Mm-hmm.
but can we have that wording so we can, so the community can understand that?
Yes, sir. I believe it's in my budget letter.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right.
I have a question regarding personnel services. The amount requested for personnel services, is that just for the two listed on this sheet, the city manager and the assistant city manager?
And part-time. Oh, and one
And a
part-time.
part-time, right?
Yes,
That's what I
ma'am.
thought. That would be there as well.
And benefits, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that, I know you have a part-time person assisting you. I wanted to see how it was put in there. And then, since our assistant city manager is tasked twice, are his, is that reflected accordingly? His fees are split?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just want to make sure it's covered, that we're not, doesn't look like a double somewhere along the
ma'am.
line.
how are our discussions on the, an HR person?
And that's a code we have to crack. We do not budget for an HR person, an additional staff person from HR, for
Even
HR.
an HR service, either one.
Pardon me, sir?
Even an HR service would work.
We did not budget for that at this point.
I'd like to see this, we need HR.
Who's currently fulfilling the HR function?
Well, it's in the clerk's role, and one of the reasons I brought Michelle Cuckoo back is we need to right the ship as far as how those services were provided.
Okay. So the clerk and the deputy clerk and Ms. Cuckoo is
Correct.
part-time?
Right now, yes, sir.
So they're handling not just clerk responsibilities, but HR for the entire city?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
I
they
mean,
don't
with- go ahead.
they don't do payroll, right? Payroll is handled by
Treasury.
treasurer. So they're not doing like full-on HR services, but
The-
you can explain
the
what they do,
personnel
but that
aspect.
makes a difference too.
I agree.
The, yeah, the onboarding, the portal, the.
Benefit
Pardon me?
management,
It's a lot of it's
Yeah.
benefit management.
yeah. And that's time consuming,
When it comes, and then it locks you down, yeah.
right?
That is something that we're working through.
So Joe, as you get organized, is that going to be maybe a need next year, to having an HR
It's
service
possible.
partner?
It's possible. I mean, it's one of those things that I know needs to be addressed and it hasn't been addressed yet. So,
Well, we did meet and talk to firms and to get a feeling of what they do that's differently. So it is a process,
Yeah.
that ball is rolling.
Yeah.
So just to compare what they could do to what we do, what we need and things like that, so.
And what some of our services already provide, or what it would cost to augment them, like whether it be BSNA or Paychex. So there's a lot of kind of like cost-benefit analysis to do with it. But that's one of the reasons why I asked Michelle Cuckoo to come back, is she's a plethora of knowledge and she's helping us in that regard.
Is she back full-time? Is she back full-time?
No, sir, he's just part-time.
Len, can we just quickly talk about staffing at City Hall? Because it seems like we've added staff. We added staff over the past year, right? Treasurer, got
Treasury one.
an extra person. And you effectively received an extra half person in Michelle, because we have two in, we've always had two. 3 there, so that gave you 1. Nick was with you full-time, but like Michelle takes up his half-time now.
And then
It
you
seems
had-
like you have half a person, or sorry, half of a a half-time person extra over where we were, plus a full-time person in the treasurer's office to kind of alleviate the burden.
Treasury does have one additional staff person than we had last year, but what you don't have is, I think actually my department is a little light because Nick is shared between my department and those other departments where you had a full-time person last year.
But is Michelle taking up many of those responsibilities that Nick was doing, like more of the administrative functions?
We're actually working together on that. Michelle she's literally here part-time,
Yeah.
and so we kind of tag team all of it together.
Okay.
So Michelle's actually floating in essence between your office and working with the clerk.
Yes, she works with the clerk. She helps out. She helps out anywhere where she's needed. This is a small team and we don't have much of a bench, and so when someone is sick or has a family health care issue or,
Any
is
vacation
entitled to their
days?
vacation
Yeah.
to take, we feel it. And we do our best to try and cover down for each other. And there is more cross-training that still needs to be done, so.
So what do you actually need staff-wise that's not addressed here? Just for, if we can't hit it this budget, something we can work towards moving forward, because I feel like staffing is critical in everyone being able to, for us to be able to hit these milestones of simple things like the website and the board and, things that tend to get missed because you're busy taking care of the things that have fire related to them, not the real fire, as he sees in the back and his eyes lit up. He's like, fire!
What else do we need?
Yeah.
I think that, cracking the code on the HR component is one thing. And then I think the most impactful thing would be a part-time person that can
Float.
help. Well, not just float. That's a beautiful thing when you have it. But to have somebody that has all that knowledge, that they're usually, I say this respectfully, they've had a career and they come back because they want to work and they have all this institutional knowledge, but it's hard to find somebody that, hey, listen, by the way, we're going to use you everywhere, and there's no stability in that, and unless you are a veteran, city employee, it's probably not very appealing to you. So, I think our luck and our bench on that it has a shelf life. And I know that, especially Michelle, she does want to go back to being fully retired, but she enjoys this work, and she is a very respected and dedicated employee, and she likes to go on her vacations because she is in that retirement mode, but at the same time, she's willing to work with us to help us get to where we need to be. So getting another part-time person to really address that communication component, I think that's where the community would see the greatest benefit most quickly. Because also, if you keep in mind what we're trying to do with all of our infrastructure, we need to have a better way to communicate it. And I think that'll really, for lack of better words, pave the way forward. So, you guys didn't catch that? No? All right.
Pave, yeah.
Yeah, we got
It's like the fire word, fire and pave, they both have explicit meanings in this community, right? Any other questions regarding this topic?
I'm concerned about the HR and what that cost is, and, when we'll have that finalized on what that cost will look like and how we will integrate it into a budget at some point in time, if that's the direction that you feel they need to go.
It's something that we know that we need to address this, and so it's something that we'll be looking at in this year. And so whether it comes in the form of a future budget amendment, that's a possibility, or not. It remains to be determined, sir.
Okay. What I'm looking for is something like a heads up, this is what the potential cost might be, and you're in this range depending on the quality of the candidate and things like that.
1 year ago, after the budget was done, Nick and I sat in my office and said, we're going to tackle this HR thing. And then all sorts of stuff happened,
Yeah.
and we never got to it. And here we are. So.
August, we've been talking about this for a few years. Have you ever investigated services? Because I know.
Yes.
I don't know who you guys do your own payroll. It's like a Paychex or something like that.
We
But
had
benefit providers
Yeah.
also do it, and they're not inexpensive. You're probably cheaper to get someone in-house to do those things, but depends on what specialties you're looking for.
We use our current broker, Bank Vance, created a portal, and they were a little late to create a portal. We were looking to jump early on because we wanted a portal, and then, so that was the first round of meetings. Like, okay, Bank Vance has one, integrated it, it's working. But we met with, it was Paychex we met with,
Paychex.
right? Several meetings with them. And they put the hard sell on us, and it just, the cost benefit, we don't know if it was there yet. I mean, compared to what Jennifer does on a daily basis, what she's very capable of doing, how it needs to be sat down and really dove into, but then everything else happens, like the
Yeah,
treasurer
it's
left, and then
everything.
everything kind of went, and Jennifer went over there, and then things just kind of moved around, so it seemed like a big priority, and then it became not as big a priority, so.
That is precisely one of the reasons, and I spoke very candidly to Michelle about that. Like, I need you, can you please help us crack this code? So,
Sounds like it's on your radar.
yes, ma'am.
Now, is that something that's being looked at in the charter, that position?
I
The
don't
proposed
know.
charter, they discussed it, they did not put a requirement for an HR director in there. The charter is, it's like 40 pages less than it was. It leaves a lot to be ordinanced and a lot to local control that can be changed. So it's not permanent.
So we don't have to worry about complying potentially to,
If the proposed charter passes, it does not hamstring that as a requirement. It allows you to make an ordinance to do that if you wanted to.
Mr. Raker, on page 56, it just kind of puts a little mini flow chart. You got a city manager, assistant city manager, and then a part-time.
Yes, sir.
So is the assistant city manager in the form of Nick, you're actually getting half of him for this department. Is that-
Some portion of them,
Okay, some portion, all right.
yes.
I remember we authorized his elevation to assistant city manager. The understanding was that he would have the skills and flexibility to be able to fill in as required. So he still, of course, is your assistant. If you're not present, he's still in charge. Is that-
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, and I inform you guys when I am out of town. I think actually I can't remember where I went last year, but I actually had a memo that appointed him, and I think by my contract, anything less than 30 days, I can appoint him or a department head. Anything after 30 days, it's your discretion to appoint an interim.
Okay.
Next subject.
Okay, next slide. I think August, you're next.
Oh, you mean? All right, well, thank you for the opportunity here. You all have a copy of my cover sheet. You know that the biggest responsibility that I deal with and the thing that keeps me up at night is elections. Okay, we have the potential in the budget, as you see, that we could possibly have in August 2023, November 2023, March 2024, and August 2024, all on this fiscal year budget. And we do not know just what it all is going to entail yet because the county and the state have not told us. There was an election services line that's in there that I asked for a boatload of money out of fear, and it's not there now because we don't know if I'm going to need the boatload of money. We don't know how much of those shared services the county's going to pick up. The state hasn't finalized what they're paying for and how. I do know my postage budget's way up because I did find out from this May election that we have to cover the cost of postage for every ballot that goes out, and then they'll reimburse it later. But we got to have the money up front. So that's a bigger number than it's ever been before.
How will they reimburse it? I mean, just cut it.
But they're going to give us a form. They say, how many letters did you write out and how much did you,
Okay.
how many, the system tracks how many ballots we send out. We'll get away with 25 that they picked up at the window that'll count as mailed. So that's, because they see online how many we issued. So, but
Okay.
that's about it. That's how they track that. If there is an election that, say, the schools call in August, we do get reimbursed for all the cost of that, but we do have to front it all. So we got to have the money in the bucket to start with. That has not happened. I have received phone calls from folks asking how to put things on the ballot in August, not from the school district, from other organizations. So there is some interest in that. I don't know where it's coming from. It seems to have died down a bit. I'll let you guess what those issues are. We've seen them before. Other than that, it'll be in July, it'll be 2 years that you've had the same clerk and deputy clerk in place, so kudos, nice job. You've had some consistency there in that office, and we are blessed to have Michelle pop over in election season. It is, and I do believe that we budgeted for her to come, like, was it 6 weeks a year or something like that, 4 weeks a year?
I'm not sure what the number.
Yeah, we guesstimated how much time she was going to spend in our office. That's part of the new, when we pay for it when she's in our office. They pay for it when she's over there in the city manager's office. So that is a blessing, and she likes doing elections. She's fired up for it. So I would have gone out and tried to hire an elections director. It was originally budgeted last year, but Michelle wanted to do it, and she was willing to, and she had went around her vacation schedule, so we got lucky. And so we're doing that again this year because her knowledge is perfect. Why find someone if she's willing to do it? So. Other than that, we stay busy. We've consolidated a lot. We've took about 1.5 tons of paper out of this office, out of this building already. And that comes with taking the time to get to know what all the paper is before you can get rid of it. So the Historical Museum has some of it, and there's some of it still sitting there for her. But we sort it all out properly like that. So if there's any other questions, we're going to, I'm happy with my staffing level. I'm very blessed to have Jennifer and to have the help of Michelle when we need it. And my hair loss has stopped considerably since I started.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
So August, at this point, the $324,000 for the budget, that's kind of a maximum bucket you've got, not knowing whether you're going to really be spending it all or not.
Well, that's at the combined funds, that the clerks, that's just city clerk, right? Yeah, that's not even elections, that's just the city clerk's office. That's our basic stuff. I don't see that changing much. I didn't make big changes to that. The big change there was we have a computer that's on the fritz that we're gonna have to pay for. That's written in there. That was my big ask in the budget, was to put $2,500 aside for that, for when that blows.
Wouldn't that be in the 60,000?
Is that part of the six?
No, this was a separate,
Perspective.
waiting for it to happen type thing, right? We just expect it to happen in the next year.
Are you going to be able to, the top part for elections, you're about 40,000 off?
From what I asked for, yes. But
You may-
I'm not afraid of budget amendments when it comes to specifically what we're going to need.
I can clear that up a little bit. So the request for the elections department, there was a duplicate line on the original request for election workers. So that's where the difference is. I removed the duplicate line.
Yeah, originally, I was worried I was going to have to hire workers to work for 10 days before every election, have to have 4 of them in the back room and have them working there. And now the counties come forward and said we're going to share those services. And so that's going to be different, cheaper. We don't know exactly yet, though. We have meetings we have a meeting next week to find that out, so.
So Kelly, you're saying that budgeted should be 68 something.
Correct.
Can we change that before we?
No, 68 is the correct number. The requested was 40,000 more than it should have been.
But you said it was doubled.
There was one line item for election workers. We had it as 80,000, it should have been about 40,000. So the recommended is the correct amount.
Why would we change the budgeted if it was a mistake, a double?
I do not change requested amounts typically because it kind of shows what the departments ask for versus what city manager recommends. Requested is what the department is asking for.
Were the departments given any instructions on what they could ask for or what they should ask for? Was anyone, was there some kind of we're trying to cut, or, give us your dream list? Were there instructions that went to staff?
There were no limitations on request. We asked people for their capital projects they needed. I didn't say cut it 10%, increase 10%. I just provided their budget document from previous years, asked what they needed for this year, and for the most part, everybody got what was requested.
Thank you. Any other questions from the clerk?
Yeah, so you're saying for the school election that we will be reimbursed?
If it happens.
If it
If there's one, if they want to be a standalone,
Yeah.
yes. We get reimbursed from the school district.
Okay, so when we have it budgeted, and then we will receive that money at some point, how does that figure into the budget?
So any reimbursements from the school, we would include in the revenue. I believe August may have included a small amount. If it's more than what we included, it would be a budget amendment to show the increased revenues or decreased revenues.
We don't know that they're going to have a standalone election in August. They might do something
What would the cost be for a typical standalone election in August?
16 to 20,
That's what I thought.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, August, I just have a quick question here. Just taking a quick look at activity for the clerk's office was 227,000 back in the 20 to 22 budget. Moving 2 years into the present, we're looking there like 324. So from 227 to 324. You get the shorthand version of what that difference would be. $100,000 in 2 years.
I can provide that answer. So as you recall, last year, we moved all the fringe benefits, retiree benefits
Okay.
into the budget to which department they belonged.
Thank you.
That same jaw drop happened last year in this meeting.
That's, yeah,
Like, what?
thank you.
And
Yeah.
again next year.
Yep.
Well, all the fringe benefits as you move them to each department, so.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
Yep.
Anything else? Next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess that would be me. So we accomplished quite a bit this year. We provided the financial model, a water and sewer rate study model, prepared a labor model, user fee model, cost allocations. That took the majority of the year with the help of all of the departments. It will provide a better forecast for where the city is going and what the costs are to the actual departments going forward. The labor model provides assistance when we're going into union negotiations. It provides a more clear picture of the cost for each department, each employee, retirement, other post-employment benefits for retirees. Going forward, I eventually would like to apply for the budget award. So included in my budget is, I believe it was $10,000 to enter into an agreement with a vendor that prepares a budget document that's available online, that's presented to GFOA. Have not moved forward with it, but I thought I would put it in there as a placeholder. As far as that, everything else is pretty straightforward based on previous budgets.
You see, the 10 grand is for an award?
The 10 grand would be for the actual budget document. They prepare it. It'd look a little bit better than the one that I prepared. It'd be available online, a little more interactive. And then once we had that put together, then I would submit it to GFOA for an award.
And for the audience, what's GFOA?
Government Finance Officers Association. A lot of cities across the United States have budget awards. They get awards for their financial statements, their yearly audited financial statements. It kind of just gives you a little prestige as well as confidence to your residents that your documents are accurate and they really go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
You did a great job on this budget. I think it looks really good.
Thank you. Is that a next?
Any other questions? No? Thank you very much for your reports.
Thank you.
Next, the Treasurer Department. We're going in order, right?
Good evening.
Evening.
Lisa Rosati, City Treasurer here at Clausen. I just accepted the role in August, and since that, we have hired two new wonderful people, Mandy and Michelle, to our department. So we've really been just working on establishing the department, providing excellent customer service, friendliness to the residents, and then obviously accuracy, because we handle all of the funds that come into the city. Moving forward, we hope to continue to do that, continue to hopefully look for more cost-effective ways to improve upon what we're already doing. And hope to be more efficient as well in what we do, so.
Ms. Rossetti, I know a third person was added to the Treasurer's Department. My understanding was that was going to be a floater between DPW and Treasurer. Is that still how that's working? There was a certain amount of debate as far as whether a third person was needed. And then my understanding was that person was going to kind of float between Treasurer's Department, DPW, or maybe something else. Is that still the case?
I'm vaguely recalling this conversation, but I'm
Probably building safety, right? Like,
I'm
City Hall.
thinking maybe there might have been some confusion in regards to the fact that that person resides under the AFSCME union, which is largely affiliated with the DPW.
Okay. So then, despite whatever affiliations this person may have, at this point, we have 3 people in the treasurer's office, pretty much full-time.
Yes, and we remain busy. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. It's to my understanding that the prior treasurer worked many extra hours in order to be able to properly do her job. And we are all new to these positions, relatively new to this. And so it will take us a little bit more time to probably become more efficient at what we do. That might free up some more time for the administrative clerk to be able to do that if that was what was asked of her. But we definitely remain busy with the 3 full-time employees.
Okay.
how are you enjoying it?
I love it. It's a challenge every day, but I do enjoy it.
Do you feel like you're in a different place today than you were when you started in August, September?
Oh, yes. Most definitely, yes.
Madam Mayor, if I may say, Lisa's puts in a lot of extra hours. She has gone way above and beyond, committing herself to the job to learn it and to ensure that it's done with the utmost integrity. So she's,
Thank
you
you.
can see her sometimes, the first one here and the last one out sometimes.
That's why she was selected, right? She came in with those reviews that said she would do all that it took
Thank you.
to get it done, so thank you for that. And hopefully you guys will figure it out and you won't have to do that all the time.
Yes, that is the goal.
What's the 310 for personal service? What's that include?
Can I have you help me with that?
The 310,000 is the 3 employees. That would be the treasurer, deputy treasurer, and the administrative clerk,
Just the salaries or?
plus fringe benefits, OPEB.
As I had to get reminded, yes, it's now a fully loaded budget, so.
Yes, all costs are now within the department to which they belong.
Okay.
And you will see that across each department. So if you see a jump from 21 to 22, and then if there's an even more jump in 23, it's either related to inflation assumptions or additional personnel.
Okay.
I didn't ask you guys, the other guys this, sorry, but is there anything you need that's not represented here or that you'd like to grow towards in the future?
I'm sure that as we go, we'll learn more and more of things that we can do to, hopefully to be more cost-effective though, and we do not increase. Okay.
Just the other services and charges, what was the difference in that?
So the other services and charges, I moved the bank service charges under the treasurer's office that formerly resided under the finance department.
And we changed banks too, was there any?
We did not change banks.
I thought we, okay.
We are using PNC. What we did prior to Lisa arriving was get what are they?
Armored car.
Armored car.
Okay.
So they come and pick up the deposits.
Yeah, that's right, okay. Thank you.
Okay. May I all set?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great job, first year. Clawson Police Department.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Get to co-present tonight with Chief Select Bouse. As far as police staffing, we're going to remain the same for the upcoming year. 17 sworn personnel, the chief, 3 patrol sergeants, 1 detective sergeant, and 11 patrol officers. We also have a full-time clerk, part-time clerk, 10 crossing guards, which are 6 part-time and then 4 subs. And then 2 part-time code enforcement officers as part of our staffing. During the 22-23 fiscal year, officers responded to 6,089 calls for service, issued 1,100 traffic citations and 2,500 parking citations. Since I've been here, one thing that Clawson does very well, their PD, is their community engagement. It's better than any agency I've ever been associated with, and this year did not disappoint. Books with Badges was started by Chief Select Bouse, Claws and Paws, Stuff a Patrol Car, and then the Clawson Scholarship Fund that Chief Bouse started years ago as well. May 20th, we'll host an open house for public safety. Key accomplishments over the last year included forming a succession plan and professional development for the department, transitioning over to our 9mm handgun, and we completed the final process to seek accreditation. Chief Select Bouse will now present her initiatives for the next coming year.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I have the honor tonight of presenting some of our goals and initiatives for the next budget year. As you may be aware, we created a Citizens Academy for our residents in 2020. So we did have one successful year of that, which unfortunately was cut a little bit short with the pandemic coming in March. So the subsequent years of that we have kind of pushed off, and we will be bringing that back this year. So we're excited to have that out to our residents in the fall. Further, we've been continuing our partnership with Common Ground, which is an organization that provides mental health treatment and drug treatment to residents in the county who may be in need of that. We also are continuing to have some of our Clawson police officers trained in crisis intervention. So we currently have 3 crisis intervention trained officers. We have 2 that will be attending crisis intervention training in May and June, and hope to have 3 more this fall. Further, we are continuing our partnership with the schools, obviously Clawson Public Schools, Guardian Angels, Jaffet, just to ensure the safety of students and staff on those campuses. And we also have our locker room renovation that will be completed this year, which is exciting. And I believe that sums up what we have as far as our goals and initiatives. Oh, and a peer support team. That's a goal that I created for this year, to bring a peer support team and kind of an overall officer wellness program to Clawson PD. So our goals for the upcoming fiscal year are in line with our budget.
Thanks.
questions?
At this point, are you fully staffed at this point? I know you've had a lot of retirements and hirings.
We're one officer down. We're trying to fill that right now.
Okay. I'm just kind of looking on page 50, they talk about the number of staff in each department. They show the police at 21.
That was a misprint.
Okay.
Error.
And so I'm wondering, are there other staff in that number?
It was a typo. It's 17 for the police sworn
Okay.
personnel.
So Mr. Rakers is, maybe when I'm looking at page 50, it's a bar, just in case somebody asks the question.
May I make a note of that for correction?
Then,
Thank you.
all right. So you're at 17 sworn officers?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
That's 21. Okay. That's what the clerks and code enforcement, sir. 21.
Okay. Okay, so it's additional staff besides, okay.
Did your ask include everything that you need or anything you want to build on moving forward? You guys are confident that you have everything you need to do what you do well, even better?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but you have any requests for data weapons or radios?
Radios are part of a county program, so we'll be getting new radios along with the fire department this year.
Would it be
Replace
com-
the existing
Will that be
radios.
completed this year?
I'm sorry?
Will they be completed this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Do you want to add any more training?
Just the normal officer training. We've got one sergeant completing professional development class next week, and I think we're good.
You guys are good. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is our fire department.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Troy Engel, your fire chief. So you guys all have the fire department cover sheet. I think you're all pretty familiar with what the fire department does. We take chaos and try to create a different wave of it. This year's budget recommends pretty much exactly what I asked for. I had a very good, productive meeting with Kelly this year. We worked very well, I think, this year. Joe really put us all on a good boat, nice teamwork. And we went forward. So, radio project, are you guys going live in December? I think the fire department radio side is supposed to go live in December. Yeah, you guys might go a little earlier than us, so. That's processing. They're gonna get pretty much radio for radio. They only need a few things. We're gonna need a little more money because we're gonna get shorted on our radios, which I believe is reflected in a couple of different places. Going forward, we're also looking at new bay doors for the fire station. Getting quotes and availability on that's been pretty interesting coming out of COVID. Things have gone up a little bit, which we expected, but some of the lead times on these items are pretty interesting, but it'll happen. So, and there's some new training we're going to try to initiate, some more officer training. All your firefighters have been doing what I consider an excellent job. Runs for last month were down, we only had 4. So, but the month before that I think was 27, so.
Oh my gosh.
It all depends on the roll of the dice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, no, it's been a good year. It's an excellent year.
Is all your doors and everything in the budget?
I believe so, yeah. Well, there's also a possibility of a grant that Joe's been working out, so, really.
Kelly, what line would we see?
Pursuing
Pursuing
heavily,
is the-
yeah, pursuing. Yeah, that would be, yes, I stand corrected.
Kelly, which line is that? on?
That is not in this particular line item, that would be.
It's not on this page.
Yeah, it's not on this page, so. So, because that's just a solid CIP, right? Or we
That
did.
is- The doors are CIP.
Yeah,
correct.
the doors are CIP. And going forward in the next couple of years, we'll be asking for a new ladder truck in about 4 years, 3 years. You don't want to know what that costs right now. So, that's,
Pursuing grant.
Your personnel.
yeah, we'll pursue grant for that too,
A
yeah.
familiar theme.
Well, we've been taking very good care of the one we have, so we're able to extend that a little bit longer than what its normal lifespan would be. That coupled the fact that I don't think the new trucks are what the old trucks were, we'll hold on to that one for a little while longer, because it's doing really good.
You mentioned
How
that
old is
last
it?
year, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So usually a fire truck is replaced every 25 years. This is coming up on 25 years. I want to extend its life to 30 years. It's a ladder truck. It doesn't get used very often. And the DPW maintenance guys have done a very good job of maintaining it. We've kept it clean and organized and fixed all its little quirks. And it's probably one of the best trucks we've ever had.
Then we just keep it and use it for parades?
No, we use it for all kinds of things.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, the one truck we keep and use for parades is the 47 Mac. And between your fire department and the kind efforts of the DPW maintenance guys, it just keeps going down the road. So that and I had a problem with the siren last year, and I sent that out for repair, and the guy sent it back to me and said there was nothing wrong with it. Miraculously, it worked good. I'm pretty sure he just rebuilt it, didn't charge us.
Nice. Keep his number.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's get to do the generator now, so. Do you have any questions at all?
Yeah, your personnel services is down 40,000. Why is that?
I'm sure that,
That was another duplicate, similar to what the city clerk had. There was a duplicate line for wages. It was on two separate lines, one in part-time and one in full-time, and I removed one of them.
so I've been introduced to my budget in a whole different way with the new leadership. So she's like, no, we're going to work out exactly how much gas and all you guys are using. It's been enlightening. So,
On that ladder, what was the year make of it?
the ladder was, I believe it's a 2000, it's at 25 years now, so I believe it's a 2000 and, no, is it a 97, 98? I didn't bring that sheet with me.
Okay.
But it's coming up on 25 years.
It's one of those things that, you're getting spare parts on eBay at this point? or
No,
not?
no, actually, when we spec'd, our current fire marshal, John Ruthenbeck, when he spec'd that truck out, I was on the committee on that truck. And all of the pieces, parts and stuff are fairly readily available. There's nothing,
Okay.
it's all off the shelf. There's nothing, we didn't get anything fancy. We got straightforward ladder truck. So we've had really good luck, and they still make the same Cummins engines, and
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Yeah, but just my concern is that you get point to past 20 years.
Yeah.
Critical parts may no longer be available
Right, but
anymore.
there hasn't been any issues. A couple of things, lights, we've had to upgrade some lights. I know they were working on, we had a strobe light decided to stop working. They were busy trying to solder it back together at the DPW the other day. So, but they got it working, so there you go. But I'm sure it'll keep going. Any other questions?
Is it everything on your wish list on here?
On my wish list? No, not even close. On the things I need, oh yeah, but I wanted jetpacks, they shot that down. I wanted a helicopter and a boat, I didn't get those. Water rescue, I mean, we got a lot of lakes in town, right? I wanted them to put a lake in so we could have a boat, they wouldn't do that
Have they
either.
quoted a helicopter yet?
No, we don't want to quote a helicopter, it's up in the millions, but I think it'd be fun.
Absolutely. A beautiful wish.
Beautiful wish, it's a wish, but not gonna happen. So it's just a joke, it's had a little fun with that stuff. But I've been bugging him about a helicopter since he got it. Keeps shooting me down. Yeah, I transitioned from single engine land, no problem.
That's the feed is hobby, is what it is.
It's not like I'm being overpaid.
Well, Troy,
Yeah.
we're really happy that you had a positive budgetary planning experience this
Yes,
year. And we look
this
forward
was-
to an even better one next year after you get your doors.
Yeah, doors are gonna,
Yeah.
so I'm working on the third vendor right now. We're gonna make a few changes. I want insulated doors. It'll be safer for the fire department. Doors that automatically close when you leave, so you don't have to sit there and remember it. Try to get them to close, and sometimes stick the opener out the window and put your tongue in the right spot to get them to close. And faster ways to open them with little pull cords, like in some of the other stations, so you don't have to mess around inside the truck trying to get the door to go open so you can leave. So, fun stuff.
What are you going to do with all that time savings?
Get to the call 20 to 30 seconds faster. I think our average is still less than 5 minutes a call. And that's leaving my house, getting to the fire station, getting in the truck, going. We
Pretty
try.
amazing.
Fire department, your firefighters do an amazing job at getting there. And our manpowers, our average firefighters per call were down just a teeny bit last year, because a lot of our fire department, they stopped working from home with COVID, so. But a more dedicated group, I have never seen.
Nice. Well, we appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything
for
else?
Sharing.
All right.
Nick, Community and Economic Development.
We did get the helicopter budget, so I hate to break it to Troy. He's going to have to borrow it from us.
Don't let Troy borrow it. Just taunt him.
So good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Nick Stepnitz. I am the Assistant City Manager and the Director of Community and Economic Development. As you noticed throughout the budget and for this specific slide, the transition has started from the title of Building and Planning to Community and Economic Development. So this transition is something that a lot of communities have undertaken over the last few years, and it's because it truly encompasses the mission behind the department, and that is to grow and improve the community. And it did also come as a recommendation to the longtime director of the department upon his departure just a few years ago. Over the last year, accomplishments consisted of improvement of policies and procedures for planning and permitting. The city received the designation as a redevelopment-ready community by the state of Michigan, and as always, continuing the improving relationships with stakeholders. The goals for fiscal year 23-24 consist of a formal economic development and marketing plan. We will be overseeing the review of the master plan. We would like to implement the new building applications for all of our permits in unison with the new fee schedule we hope to get approved, and also fully utilize BS&A to its fullest capacity. Before I ask if you guys have any questions, as alluded to earlier, the breakdown of my compensation is 38% of it is under the planning portion, 38% building, and then 24% city manager. And so if that's broken down by week, it's 14 hours per week for planning, 14 for building, and then 8 for the city manager allocation-wise. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
How many hours do you really spend on those functions? Because I'm going to guess it's in excess of 14, and 8.
It's allocated
right?
for 36, so we'll leave it at that.
Right, that's what I thought. How are you enjoying it?
Well, I'm here more than 36, so I'd say I love it.
No, not the hours, but the business and the community and economic development portion. Are you liking it?
Love it, yeah.
Good. Any questions?
Related to the master plan and costs associated with that, how much does that increase over a year where we don't have a master plan?
So I'm sorry, I don't have the exact in front of me, but for the professional services, there is, I want to say 40,000 included in that budget for the master plan review, which I believe does incorporate the entire cost of the master plan, but still just in case things come up. So we wanted to make sure we had enough money just in case, we add anything to the master plan as we get going. Mm-hmm. So it is covered in the budget.
Okay.
Under your staffing, you have director, administrative clerk, and then part-time inspectors. Is the part-time inspectors really part-time and inspectors? Because you have a part-time clerk, right, also? So is that represented in the part-time inspector portion, or are we missing someone on the list?
So our staff makeup consists of John, who is a full-time administrative clerk in the building department, Kim, who's a part-time
Right.
clerk, and she also does some inspections outside.
Didn't know that.
So there's that. And then we have 4 other professional inspectors that consist of plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and then our building inspector/official. And so their compensation is based off of all the permits that we get. And so out of the 100% permit that a contractor pays, they get 75% of that, and the city retains 25%.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, personal services went up 50,000. Why is that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Personal services went up 50,000,
Which one is that?
where all the other ones dropped.
Between the requested and the recommended budgets.
Yeah. Request was 302, you got 351. And
Does that have to do
it's
with
been
John
different
Wilson?
for everybody else, it's been less.
No, that was because of the increased permits
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure what you were talking about. So the allocations for services is based off of permit revenue. And so in order to get what our permit revenue was going to be, I just took the average of how many permits we issued over the last 5 years and based it off of that. I want to say that average was a little over 1,000 permits per year for all four specialties that we inspect. And it does consist of, with the hope of having some larger projects done over the next year and completed, like the Clausen Manor and then the PUD across the street, to name a few.
That doesn't explain how it went from, you asked for 305.
So yes, Nick did ask for the 302,000. He came back a couple weeks later, based on just the past month or so's history and the knowledge that he's going to be doing additional permits come FY '24 for the Clausen Manor
Yeah,
and
so-
several things. So we readjusted it in the recommended.
Yeah, so when that was submitted, I was not sure on the status of a couple of those larger projects that I knew were going to have some more revenue associated with them, and so that changed from when I requested it to now, and as Kelly alluded to earlier, she does not change the requested budget, just so you guys can see where departments asked, so I was a little bit light, but more revenue there, more expenditures means we're having more activity in the city, which is a good thing.
Did I hear you correctly when you issued about 1,000 permits?
Consisting of electrical, mechanical, all
The
of
whole
that.
gamut, but-
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, Nick, thank you for taking on this new role. You're doing great, and we also thank Joan for what she did in the past. You guys are a good team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this is Trevor's most important part of his day. He's looking forward to being here 2 nights in a row and presenting to us the Department of Public Works.
Good evening, Trevor Zablocki, DPW Superintendent. First, can I have a helicopter?
We're going to have a raffle for the helicopter after we have a couple fundraisers, and I think soon-to-be Chief Bouse is really good at fundraisers, so we'll put her in charge of that, so talk to her.
So this past year, we started the Selfridge Phillips project. That should wrap up in June. So far, it's gone pretty smooth. Couple issues, nothing major. Nothing we couldn't work through.
Good.
We also, for the first time since 2019, are fully staffed in the field. So that is a very big deal. That's going to go a long ways, especially we got to get caught up on a lot of routine maintenance stuff. Painting curbs, crosswalks, hydrants, trimming trees, tree removals, stuff like that we have fallen behind drastically. Let's see. Also this year, we're going to be starting our field work on the complete distribution systems material list. So that is actually digging up and looking and finding out what's copper, what's lead. So that is mandated by the state. The administrative portion of it is almost done. We're almost ready to start sending out notices to residents that we will start digging up there. Unfortunately, their front yards. And
Will that be every yard?
no, it's roughly 300 residents.
Okay. Is it based on the age of the house? Or
Correct.
Okay.
It's based on the age of the house and our records. So it's basically, the idea is this tells us how accurate our records are. And then the state takes that and determines, are your records good?
What's the deadline to have them all done?
December of '25
To have them all identified.
for this portion. For the actual replacement, that's 20 years, I believe.
5% each year.
It's 5% each year, but you've got 20 years to do it.
So this digging operation is simply, you're examining what's down there. So
Right,
I'm assuming it's a fairly narrow hole. that
Yeah,
you'll
so
need to-
we're gonna do hydro excavation. We don't need to actually put someone in the hole, so just enough to see the 18 inches either side. So
18,
we dig
so-
up the stop box, the shut off outside, 18 inches either side. We have to be able to verify what it is on each side, and then verification in the house. If we're unable to get one of those, we have to have that 3 of 4. So there's at the main, which is a much more extensive dig. We don't want to do that if we don't have to. There's the 2 I just spoke of at the stop box, and then in the house. You have to have 3 of 4 verifications.
So these 300 residents, somebody's gonna come by one day and bore a hole.
They will get notifications.
I'm sure
We
they're gonna,
will-
yeah, I'm sure you'll notify
we-
them. It wouldn't
We
be,
won't just start digging up their house.
granted, that's good to hear.
And so-
You'll get notification, then
good
you'll show
amount,
up, you'll
yes.
bore a 18 or 36 diameter hole.
It depends on what kind of ground it is.
Gotcha. And this will be close to their home then?
No, it'd be out at the property line.
Okay, by the
For the most
sidewalk
part.
then. Okay.
Yes. So a lot of the work had already been done, so I do have a lot of information for a portion of this. The inside portion, I already have pictures, but we still have to do the outside for most of them. And there are still some we have to get an extra spot of verification.
Okay. I guess in your cover letter, you said one of your key performance indicators and measurements, accomplish at least 50% of our lead and copper inventory.
Correct.
How
That
does
is, that is.
If you're only doing 5% a year, or maybe somewhat more.
No, the inventory is different. The 5% a year is replacement.
Okay,
The inventory is of the 300, I would like to get 150 done.
oh, so the inventory is the inspection process?
Correct.
Okay,
So that takes significantly less time than a full replacement. I mean,
sure.
we could dig it up and have it fixed, or not fixed, but covered back up in a matter of an hour.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You know, why is the service and charges, you asked for 111 and you got 131? That'd be a Kelly question.
Other service and charges, you're saying?
I believe that was for the trees. Is that the
What
trees?
department are you speaking of? I have a lot of departments.
Is that for trees? That was for trees.
What? No, those are different. Hold on one second.
20,000.
Oh, apparently I didn't print out.
Tree purchase and removal. That was for tree purchases and removals.
Oh, that was an amount that I originally asked for, or Gina and I had originally asked for a certain amount, and then came back to Kelly and asked for more. But those trees, that would be trees in the parks, not right away.
These are 20,000 for parks.
Yeah, trees in the parks, that's not our regular right away out in front of houses.
He looks like he's studying something. I was trying to give him a moment to absorb, just in case. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on.
All right,
Thank you very much, Trevor.
I had most of my questions before I got here.
You answered your questions before you got here?
I had them all written down.
Oh, good. Next up, Parks, Recreation, and Seniors.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I am Gina Boyd. I am Director of Recreation and Seniors. I feel like we had a really great year comparatively, being able to open up more. We are now open 5 days a week at Hunter. I have a full-time staff person and 2 part-timers. Our senior center is doing amazing right now, at least with, we're driving 5 days a week again. We've got exercise classes 5 days a week. We've got speakers coming in at least once or twice a month. We've got more trips going. With parks, we're obviously trying to work on the fields and continue that improvement. So it's been good for us. We want to continue as we build our relationships with the schools to kind of come up with some intergenerational programming is my goal. We also want to come up with ways to reach seniors who have yet to come back to the center, either with virtual activities or however we can do it. And then we're also coming up with some creative arts kind of opportunities. We've got monthly crafts going. We're hoping to get some cooking classes going this summer. So we're trying to make it work. So I'm excited. Any questions?
Is Gut still at?
Yeah.
They are?
Yep. They're there every Saturday, and they'll be doing their summer camp there again this summer.
Excellent, okay. Is there a plan, I don't know, if they have a plan to continue to grow with us? Or
I'm
what's
hoping
their-
so, yeah. As far as I know, we have a great relationship. So I kind of, as much as they need from me, I try to accommodate.
Okay, maybe you can explain what that is.
Oh,
and-
yeah, there, so Team Guts is a program that started, basically they have some special needs programs for the community. We have martial arts right now and Zumba on Saturday mornings for children and adults with all sorts of, any sort of special need that we are happy with them. And then they also, we have summer camp for, I believe it's a total of 4 to 6 weeks. They take a little bit of a break. So they're there a lot of times inside and outside. They take all over the whole kind of place, but it's great.
Gina, what else do you need that's not represented here that you'd like to build towards?
Well, so I think next year I may have a different answer because we're getting that AEW assessment. But I'm happy. We're getting our picnic tables coming up, so I'm a happy camper. I don't know how it'll look after we get our assessment, but I'm happy with what we're getting.
So that
Yeah.
reminded me, the bleachers by the softball.
Yes.
And the condition that they're in.
Yes.
Is that not part of the picnic tables, or is that?
That would be separate, but we've added more for both, for our, the grounds and building
Okay.
for parks, so.
Okay.
We're working on it.
That was what I wanted. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question for Kelly. There's 3 totals on here.
Senior, youth, and
Personal services. It's a small amount. They're real small amounts. Why aren't they the same? Or what would change them? Like you got 94,570, but you budgeted 94,770.
It was probably just a social security or a small fringe that adjusted it. Wasn't originally calculated in the original request.
We asked for a helicopter, but just the plastic kind.
There is a
With
theme
some
to the
batteries.
seating, for sure.
One runs on rubber bands, right?
Is that it? Okay, thank you very
I'll
much,
take it.
Gina,
Thank
for all you
you.
do.
Thank you, thank
Appreciate
you.
Next up is Leah in our Historical Museum.
Hello, Leah Davis, Clawson Historical Museum. So like everyone else, we had a good year last year. We got our plaques program started. We had in our initial order about 30 plaques, and then we've had some additional since that time. We're still kind of working to get people aware that we even do that. So we also were able to hit our goal of having 2 presenters come out. And then like the rest of the city, we were able to get back into all of the fun events that unfortunately got canceled for those years, and we plan to do those again this year, like the trick-or-treat trail and the Clausen Parade and everything else. We also got our exhibit room updated to cartography of Clausen, so we've got lots of old maps in there, and that's been pretty interesting. People have been enjoying it so far. For this year, we again want to do 2 presenters. We kind of already filled those spaces alone with me because this year's kind of a big year for this area. This marks 200 years of the first people living in Clausen. Obviously wasn't Clausen at that time. Also, this marks 100 years since the Clausen School District, so we're going to have presentations on both of those. But I do want to try and get people outside of me to come in and do some presentations as well. We had a goal of digitizing newspapers for the last few years, and that goal was realized today when a gentleman in college wanted to start helping, so he came in today. So that project is actually underway. We've got thousands and thousands of newspaper clippings with all kinds of information, and anyone knows newspapers they're delicate, so they won't last forever, so digitizing them is kind of important. As far as like a wish, our exhibit room has always been dedicated more towards adults, and I'd really like to see maybe in the next few years to do something that is more geared towards kids, but still historically, kids are very tactile, and so if we could do something more hands-on, because the museum is really not a hands-on option for the kids. They're really supposed to look, and so they kind of start to look around the room, just kind of, bored. So if we could have a room that's kind of dedicated to getting them interested in as well, but that might require a little more money than like the normal ones. So I think we're going to work on trying to do some fundraising and things like that to maybe make that possible. So outside of that, we're just kind of running like normal. We've been pretty busy so far this year. We've had a decent turnout almost every day of people coming in and enjoying the museum. So, yeah.
Nice.
Any questions?
Is your theme still the 1920s?
Yes, so the museum as a whole is still the 1920s, just because that's when Clausen became a village. Our house that it's in is technically 1919, but more or less it was around for the 20s. We just have one room that changes, so it can be kind of whatever we decide. So it would just be that room that we would.
I see. With that, Trevor, the water mains you're removing out of Batter, do they date from the 1920s?
We're not removing any from Batter, we don't have any.
Okay. We'll be removing some with our budget, so would you like a piece of a 1920s water main?
We have a piece of the wooden 1920s water main, but sure, we can have a few more. So, yeah, we're always interested in anything Clausen historically, so, we got to save it all.
That'll cost us a helicopter.
I was just curious, of the plaques that you've handed out, are those people that have, I can't remember, we did designate what the potential cutoff was for those, weren't we? Or
So the newest house that someone had ordered one was from, I believe, 1952. Okay. That was the latest date. We didn't make like a cutoff date because it just states like the year that your house was built. Okay. So if you got a 2020 house that you really were proud of and you wanted a plaque on, it would just say, it doesn't say like historical home. We did have a couple of people who ordered special ones. They, the Reed family farm that's been in Clausen since 1875, they wanted it to say the Reed House. So they were able to kind of customize theirs, but the general plaque, it didn't, allude to the fact that your house was exactly historical outside of the date. So we did have a couple. There was a 1949 and 1952. So, but it was mainly 1920s.
in the past, and as you pick up activities from outside of COVID, I believe there were some road tours to see how, has that been also incorporated, or is that?
Yeah, so we had prior to me, there was a Kit House tour that Melody, the previous curator, had done. We still have all of the information for that, so it's pretty much, I think she worked with Parks and Rec, maybe one of your guys' buses, and drove around and saw people's, the Kit Houses and things like that. we haven't exactly planned out to do any of those things quite yet. I first off wanted to talk to Melody. How do you feel about me doing your thing, and whether she might be able to enlighten me a little bit more, because kit houses can be a little difficult. Most of the companies that did the kit homes, they chucked their records in like the 80s, and so we get a lot of people who suddenly want us to like research theirs, but there's not always a lot of information left for us to do that. So I want to make sure that I'm fully versed before I take somebody on like a tour or something like that. And then we had ghost tours. We'll have to see if that's something that people are interested in. It's not really about ghosts, so I'm not sure if we could retitle that one, but yeah. So
No, I was just curious, so as you ramp up into doing these other projects, that these are things that have been incorporated, or?
yeah,
These
I
are which
recently
items?
pulled out all of her notes on that stuff so I could start kind of familiarizing myself with what did she do, what could we maybe, make it different. I don't want to bring somebody on the same exact thing that they may have been on in the past, but it is something that we'd possibly like to do. It's facilitating all of that, making sure that, they have a bus or something that we could, okay, yeah, something along those lines. I mean, we had several years ago a group come through to look for ghosts at the museum, and I've had continuous people asking about when they'll get to come and walk around the museum in the dark and look for ghosts. I'm a little nervous about the safety issues in that, but yeah, so we've got lots of requests for interesting things, so yeah.
I think you should hold off on that tour until Trevor gets his helicopter, and then he can do tours with the helicopter.
There you go. I will not be on that tour. I'll voice record it, and you guys can have fun with that, so.
That'd be great.
Everybody else good?
No, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Leah, for all you do. We appreciate you. Standing up in the back is our lovely librarian, Jenny, who's just chomping at the bit. She's like, please let me go next, please.
That's right. Good evening, I'm Jenny Gannad. I'll be asking for a helicopter to deliver books and videos to our patrons and do outreach, please. So, thank you. Okay. So we've been serving the community for 94 years, believe it or not, and I'm happy to say that we're returning slowly back to pre-COVID numbers. Since the beginning of this year, we've had over 18,000 patrons come into the library, and we've circulated over 35,000 items, so we're doing pretty well. We're open 5 days a week, 8 hours a day for 40 hours. I have a staff of 9 part-time clerks and two full-time employees, myself and my youth services librarian, and I'm the director and head of adult services. And we belong to a cooperative of 74 libraries. It's called the Library Network. It makes up about 4 counties. It's one of the larger cooperatives in the state. For our fiscal year accomplishments, I am beyond thrilled to tell you that we have a new copier. So, yay, I know, I'm so happy. Actually, probably too happy, but anyway, I'm happy. And we are, like I said, returning to in-person programming. So that is good. It costs a little bit more, but our friends are very supportive of that. We've also gotten a number of grants for book grants from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and then for programming grants through Oakland County and through the Arts and Humanities Touring Grant. My youth services librarian was up at midnight this week in order to apply for one grant because it's super competitive. So she came in, we gave her extra coffee, and we won the grant. So that's very good. We've gotten a grant for the solar eclipse glasses, so I have 500 solar eclipse glasses in my office, so when that comes up this fall, we'll be ready.
April next year. Oh,
Yep.
wait, no, there is an
There's
annual,
a-
that's right,
uh-huh.
that's right, there's no. Yep.
Nope, that's okay. I have glasses, we're good.
We'll keep it for next year for April,
Yeah.
yeah.
Our friends, of course, continue to be super supportive with the Blair Bazaar. Our Giving Tree did better this year also. We've raised almost $4,000 through private donations for books and videos. Another big accomplishment is that we've entered a reciprocal agreement with 7 other large state cooperatives for our ebooks and e-audiobooks, so that will expand the collection out, but we still pay the same amount that we do, so that's very good. For budget highlights, revenue, because of the automated renewal of materials, we're not bringing in as much fines. Also, because of streaming videos, obviously we're not renting as much. Again, private donations help. Everything else is pretty much the same, except we will be going into the fund balance this year to help offset costs. With expenditures, it's building maintenance. My HVAC is still being a little bit cranky, mild understatement, but we're getting there. And then obviously things like public utilities, operating supplies. I've put in a request for staff increases. We'll also be tripling our bandwidth because more and more people are coming in with their electronics and not logging in so much with our computers. So we have that going on. And then, of course, I've had to increase a little bit with our videos because the British murder mysteries are literally killing me, so I have to up that a little bit. So, day in the life of me. So. And then service fees, we're just adjusting our card replacement and the exam proctoring. So we're one of the few libraries that do exam proctoring. I think Berkeley may be the only other one. Many of our neighbors don't charge overdue fines or charge for videos. We're one of the few that do. When we do, people are pretty okay about paying it. You know, they know it's going to a good cause, so we'll try to stay course with that. Obviously, the big thing is the cost allocation. We will be starting to pay that, and we'll be just fine with that. We'll be using the fund balance to offset that. And then for initiatives, my big goal is to have the executive director of our co-op come in and talk to us, kind of benchmark to see where we are compared to everyone else. I want to try to up our library card applications and renewals. We have about 4,000 library card holders, and obviously I want to try to increase that. And I will be reviewing our policies this year to make sure everything is current and good. So that's what's shaking at your library. Thoughts, feelings, emotions? That's what I always say to my staff.
Really, you want to open this group up to that?
Well, it's okay. It's all right. Good?
You got it. You got everything you need?
Yep. Yep, we're happy campers. Thank you.
Paper clips? I heard you always have a need for paper clips.
Always. Book tape, yes. Yes, rubber bands especially, so. You laugh. I'm not kidding.
No, and, you know, it's funny, you have 1,000 paper clips and all of a sudden you have none.
Yeah,
right?
no, where are they? It's with the missing sock. I don't know.
And the rubber bands are probably on top of the books because someone was doing this one day when they were bored.
I
I
can-
don't remember how you do that, but yeah.
Can't confirm
this.
nor deny
Yeah.
that one, but yeah, maybe.
I have a question for Kelly. The total estimated revenues, there's 100-some thousand there, different. Why is the difference?
Those are, the $100,000 is the library using fund balance to offset additional cost, as well as a contribution from general fund to offset some of those costs as well, as we now are implementing the cost allocation plan in FY '24.
Well, what happens when our fund balance goes away? Using it up in a couple of years.
We have to continue to look for additional revenue sources.
Who's going to pay the bills up till then? All right.
That's the quandary across the nation.
So is it a fair question, right? It's going to be this and the DDA is probably suffering similar concerns if they're the two. How?
So it's also major streets, local streets, and water and sewer.
Okay. So how are we going to, we're going to have to come up with a plan to address it, maybe not this year, because this year is the shock and awe. But moving forward, if this is not an entity that can generate a lot of revenue, it's just not probably plausible for what they do, because they're a service. So this administration have a great plan, not today, but will they make a great plan to ensure that that these other entities can remain viable, right? Because it's just, I know you're just shifting, so it's there, and I doubt you're going to leave anyone fledgling too much, but I wouldn't want anyone to think we're going to at all moving forward, because I don't want anyone to lose sleep over what they've always done and have things just change on paper and then maybe be concerned that on paper it doesn't work, therefore they're going to lose something. That's not a problem, right? Thank you. I knew that was the answer, but you still just have to say it out loud, right?
We won't be losing anything with the 100,000?
There will be a reduction in current year's fund balance for the library. They have a healthy fund balance at the moment.
fund
We will
balance?
continue to look for additional resources to pay for these.
What's a healthy fund balance?
It was 50%,
Yeah.
55%, 50% of their expenditures.
COVID, we didn't spend much.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we're careful with the paper clips.
Anything else?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Next up is our Downtown Development Authority. Joan, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, if we're looking at accomplishments and highlights, then as you know from last night's meeting, we again were recognized as a Main Street community, and we didn't really talk, it got a little confusing up here, we didn't really talk a lot about that, but this is not something that Oakland County just hands out. This is a national program, and it's the Main Street part of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. People come in from the national program to evaluate our program and see what we're doing. And it's not like cramming for a test where I can prepare a lot of things to hand to them. They look at, are we using that stuff throughout the year? And we do things throughout the year. We have to turn in stats. How many businesses closed, how many employees were gained, full-time, part-time, what improvements were made, how much private investment was made, how much public investment was made. So there's a lot that goes into the evaluation process, so we're very pleased to be able to meet those standards again. We did this year also start to activate the 14-mile alley with decorative lighting, sound system, artwork, and seating. We continue to work on that. With additional artwork ready to go up, we're going to add more seating and looking at other ways to make that a well-used place. We don't really have any public places downtown other than our sidewalks and that alley. So we continue to look at how we can make the downtown even more pedestrian-friendly and have places where people can sit and gather and visit. So we continue to plan and provide oversight for annual events throughout the year, and I think it's important to note that our annual events are not things that we spend money on. Every event that we do is cash positive. We have sponsorships. The businesses provide funds for things. They are all paid for. Those do not come out of our budget. And we also established the Dine Clausen group this year, which is just a group of restaurant owners, bar owners, everybody food-related, so that together they can talk and plan events and communicate with each other and learn from each other. So, and we're spreading that out to invite restaurants throughout the city this year. So that's a program that we're working on now, Downtown Neighbors. In this coming year, we're going to continue to improve the streetscape with additional landscaping, public art, and seating. The update to our downtown Clausen master plan is beginning. With that, we'll also be looking at additional ways to how can we add parking, improve parking, and the parking lots. So the parking lots, or the municipal lots, are something that we need to look at for parking, pedestrian safety, waste removal, a lot of things that go into that, and we are going to be getting that together, getting some concepts down so that we can turn in for a grant. There is a grant through MEDC available. We will be turning in for one individually, and Main Street Oakland County is also going to be collectively putting in all of our projects to see if we can't get money through the MEDC. So we may win on one. We'll see if we can win on either one of those. It will only be for one, but MEDC has traditionally not favored Oakland County real well, so they're going to try to use the whole buying power and collective submission from Oakland County. We're going back to working with SEMCOG, which is the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, to explore options for improved traffic movement, pedestrian safety, and parking included in that. We started that conversations with them prior to COVID, and then things got a little stalled, and we wanted to wait till our parking study was done, which we had done. And then they got a little busy with this road diet thing on Woodward, but we're going to start talking to them again. So that's kind of where we've been and where we're going as far as the upcoming year budget. I don't think those numbers are actually finalized. We've got the actual numbers from the county now on what we received for 2023, but we're still working to figure out where we are in 2022. There were some discrepancies as far as the audit was done, so that's one thing that continues to be something worked on. I think, does everyone, I don't know if, and I'm sure if there are people in the public listening, I think there is still some confusion about TIF, tax increment financing, which is where we get most of our financing, other than the fundraising we do and the sponsorships we gather. That tax increment financing, TIF, means that every property in the DDA was assessed in 1990 when the DDA was established and the TIF program was established with the county, with the state. Everyone who gets money from the county from those properties gets their money based on the 1990 assessment. From 1990 to present, tax values have gone up, the assessments have gone up. The DDA gets the money from the difference between 1990 and now. And that's how our budget is done. So a lot of people, I think, look and say, why don't we do more? We don't have the funds. We have a very small DDA. So anybody looking at other downtowns or looking at listservs and they think, well, these DDAs do that, or they do that, or they pay for that, they're much larger. You have to consider, just looking in Oakland County, Berkeley has a similar kind of downtown to ours. Their DDA goes from 12 Mile to 11 Mile on Coolidge, and then goes down, yeah, it's much larger. Lake Orion also, very small DDA like ours, but their TIF goes down M24 and collects from all those industrial properties. So, yeah, they may look the same, and they're able to do much bigger projects because they're collecting from a much bigger area. We have one of those real traditional downtowns that stayed, and the DDA was established and the TIF was established based on this small traditional downtown. So we work with, we're pretty fiscally responsible and very conservative. We get a lot of sponsorships and, again, don't pay for events. So every dollar we have, we put back in to trying to make improvements. And we also have still paying off a bond for the last streetscape. So half of our budget goes to paying off that bond. So in 2030, when that's done, we'll free up a little bit of revenue and be able to, do a little more. But right now, things, and have been, since the streetscape, have been pretty slim. So that's where we are. So taking money from the budget actually makes things a little more difficult. So does anybody have any questions?
You're ever going to address the pavers?
Needs to be done. I agree.
There's a lot of trip hazards down there.
Pardon?
Have you ever had a price put together for that?
I don't have it right with me, Lou, but somewhere I know we looked at that a few years ago of what it would take.
Mr. Rucker, I'm missing page 86. 87, 88. No.
86 is blank.
You got 85, that must be 86. Then I got 88.
Page 117 is the budget for DDA. That was an oversight.
117?
117?
Oh, there it is.
You see, do you see a shortfall this year?
There is going to be a little one because the projections were a little high, what we actually took in. It's 188,000 between TIF and millage.
Do we have a 2022 budget yet?
You do, and you have a 20, yes, you do, and it was approved. What is still in contention is some of the explanation that I've been in contact with the chair. Her and I have exchanged emails. We have missed each other the last 2 weeks. Our last communication was yesterday. There's an email in my inbox for my response. We will have all this ironed out, DDA, well in advance of May 16th, and we'll have the proper documentation to you in advance of that as well.
Did the chair agree on this?
It's not,
It's not-
no, that's gonna have some changes to it.
So this isn't,
The current one has some changes to it, and the 2022
Has some explanation.
has some explanations because there was, when the audit was done, it was shown that we were not credited all of our, the county collected, the city collected 159,000 from the county, but 151 was given to the DDA, so there's some money missing there that went to general ledger that hasn't come out yet. So there were a couple questions that we had to go over, and we're waiting for answers on those. That Joe says that he's got those answers, so.
And we'll be meeting with Chair Mary Liz Curtin, either over the phone or in person, and this will be ironed out in advance so that we do not have a repeat of the, lack of better words, angst between the DDA and the city administration. So, in advance of May 16th, and we will provide you the updated information as soon as it's available.
do you see any services getting cut this year?
Pardon?
Do you see any services or anything getting cut this year in the DDA?
Can't answer that yet.
Can you, will you be able to answer it after he gives you the information?
Yes, we will have those answers.
Okay. And I'll ask you the question when we go to pass the budget then.
Pardon?
I'll ask you the same question when we go to pass the budget. since
Okay,
we'll-
that's fair.
We'll know all the proper line items.
So this budget, the 23-4 budget, you're fine with, right?
No, I don't think the revenues are correct.
There's,
Oh, you're still, same, is it the same issue from 22? Well, no, it can't be the same issue, but you have the two,
It would just be
you
the
have
fair
last year's
fund balance.
resolved, just need a communication.
there's a communication component that needs to be
Okay.
finished, and then these figures will change. for this
If I
Okay.
could, so we don't have the final millage rates from the county as of yet, so that would go across all funds. Right now, based on what we do have, there's about a $3,000 variance, so what Joan has submitted, we will not change that until we get the final numbers from the county, hopefully prior to adopting the budget, but if not, then we would amend the budget next year based on what the county provides the treasurer's office.
So DDA has a $3,000 shortfall over what they're anticipating? Is that it? I'm confused. Based on
Based on
the
calculations,
anticipated.
I think I'm coming up with 210,000. DDA requested 213 based on my recommendation a month or two ago to increase by 5.
You said 4.5%.
4.5%. So.
Okay, sounds like,
So that, you were saying the county is there a delay that's unexpected regarding millage rates, or what's
This
happening?
is the same timing every year. There's always, we come right down to the wire when we adopt the budget. Sometimes it relies on if there's a school election that will affect millages. Some type of election for the county would affect millages. So various things will affect that, but we usually come down right to the wire. The treasurer's office has to get information from the schools, from the county, from us, and fill out the documentation. County has to approve those millage rates after the clerk also signs off on it. So it's a tight timeline. It always has been, always will be, until they change the property tax laws or the city of Clawson adopts the budget at a later date.
Okay. There's a process aspect in it, and there's us or the county, but it sounds like it's a little bit of both, but for where we are, that we're required to have this done, it's gonna, okay.
Okay, what is the hang up for 2022?
Boy, so all that extra time that's budgeted in?
So the 3,000 is just for the upcoming budget, and those are really just, proposed numbers that you put in, anyway,
So-
for expenditures, so.
So Kelly, why wouldn't we have an exact number for 2022 yet?
We do have an exact number, it just, we've not been able to find out why it wasn't,
That has been corrected. It's been provided to the city manager. He has provided it to Mary Liz.
No,
Not
we are
yet.
going to debrief on it. We're hired to meet on it, and we are going to debrief on it. That is specifically her desired direction, and that's the direction we're going. So once that's resolved, we'll then have this year's budget with the carryover, the exact fund balance from the previous year, which was this year.
So
Not in
you-
fact this year, but the fund balance for this year.
And we should have exact figures by the 16th?
Absolutely. Well, we'll come to a common understanding of the situation. Everyone will be on the same page by the 16th. Everyone will be on the same page by the 16th. I'm,
We ain't on the same page for 22, so that worries me for 23 and 20.
I mean, it's a matter, we'll get there. We will get there.
All right? We're voting on the 16th, so
I have confidence that it'll be rectified and all will be content and we shall move forward. Right?
Amen.
Go team.
On
Been
another
frustrating. I
note,
know it's been frustrating for the DDA, but I think you guys have worked extremely hard to try and find that middle ground. So can't undo what's been done in the past. Let's just rectify it, move forward, make 23 successful on this, and let's just go, right? Learn from your old mistakes and keep moving.
regarding the maintenance of the plant material, that last year we were kind of not sure about what the actual process was, what it would require. So has that been finalized and has that reflected?
The landscaper, the DDA approved paying Sunnyside Landscaping to clean out the beds this year, weed them, put down weed kill, and the text just came in just this minute that he finished today. So that part's done. The DPW will mulch when they mulch everything. The pedestrian islands, there was a sustainability grant, and we received, about 3 weeks ago, received their suggestions of plantings. This is an Oakland County sustainability grant, and they farmed the actual design work out to another company. It took them about a year to get their list of plants together. They sent it, our Committee went over it. They had some questions on some of the plans, some of them that we said, oh yeah, that looks good, that sounds good. And these are going to be plugs. It's going to take a while for them to build, but they're all native and sustainable. We're trying to make sure that we find ones that don't look, that have some flowering and don't just look weedy. There were a couple that sounded good, but the committee was looking at them and said, these are for wetlands. So there were two questions we have that I'm trying to get answers on from the person, the company that put the list together, because there were a couple grasses that sounded low in mounding. They said, oh, that would be good. It would kind of go with what we have. And another one that was flowery, we thought that would be fine. And both of them said wetlands. So I'm trying to clarify that.
Yeah, there was a question on the flower baskets and how those are maintained and the
We do
people that
not
would be-
have the means to keep them watered, Glenn. It just doesn't, and having them up, and it's a lot of money to buy those, and then to have them look sad or dead is just worse. So we put in for a grant to put up some banners. They're brightly colored, blue and then yellow flowers, so something that can stay up spring through summer and give a little bit of color, although not plants. And I think flowers are great, and they're great when they look healthy.
Yeah, just the hanging baskets that was a problem.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, I was just curious if you were going to continue do that, and whether or not there's you had it in the budget to maintain
not
that
this
in the
year.
water.
Not this year. We don't have the money to maintain them. I think we're going to have to buy new flower baskets. I think part of the problem with those, we bought baskets that had a water reservoir in them. The baskets I think are too small, but the arm on those poles is too small. We couldn't get a larger basket on it. At the time when those were put up, we had asked for a longer arm. We were told then we were kind of on the outside of that project, even though we were kind of paying for it. We were told that that was the longest arm we could get for that pole. And now I can't even get the company to answer us.
That's right. So in using the poles, this is in combination with the existing street lighting. So is there any crossover between what DDA needs for hanging baskets or banners and then what is required for street lighting? Is there any that's completely separate? There's nothing that's shared between the two?
When we've done banners before, because the street lights go beyond the DDA, we have always split banners with the city. So when we put up new ones, we kind of did half and half. We are only putting up half of the banners right now. We're going to intersperse them with the canvas banners that are up there, the blue ones.
Okay. And then there's a question from some of the businesses that were outside that why they couldn't participate. Is that also, I thought there was some concern that they were being left out for.
Of banners?
Some type of display. I'm trying to remember the conversation. This is maybe early last year, that there were some businesses that felt that they wanted to be part of that. How could they be part of that?
We do have an outreach program that we're going to be rolling out this year called Downtown Neighbors, to invite other businesses to participate in the things that we do. So I think we're going to start with the restaurants and get them into the Dine Clausen group so that collectively, when there's a restaurant week or where there's other things that other restaurants throughout the city can participate in. Excuse me, I'm really dry. And then also other retail businesses to get them involved, engaged, and become part of and not feel left out.
Okay.
It will also, there will be because we cannot spend money, resources outside the DDA, that will be a membership program. So, but we will put businesses outside the DDA on our website, on our business directory. We have an interactive business directory. if you click on the business, it shows their name, their website, all of their social sites, and driving directions to them. So there isn't anything else like that for them. So we will get everybody, hopefully we can get everybody on a business directory.
Is that similar to Chamber of Commerce, the same thing the
I
Chamber of Commerce?
don't know that
would
they have
have?
an online directory like that. This is online.
Okay.
So that you can automatically, I think everybody's on their phones and looking for things. And again, you get driving directions, you get their social sites, their Instagram, their Facebook page, everything is right listed on the business directory.
Nice. What else?
Are you planning on putting up planners next year? You planning on putting planners up next year?
I don't know. I don't see it happening, Lou. We would need, no, I don't see that we have the budget to do it. Again, there is not a way of keeping them maintained. I think when we've talked to other cities, because I see, huge, wonderful baskets in other cities, and our committee members have called and said, how do you do that? Well, they have a person dedicated that goes around every day and waters. I think having different part-time people trying to do it, even though the landscaper, we were getting our things from Eckert's, even though they came and they trained a couple times because they'd see that our flowers weren't doing real well. I think you need a dedicated person that can keep up.
Was it being done by the DPW?
I don't know. We don't have the funds to hire a person. I mean, someday I'm hoping that when our revenues increase, they can get I'm paid $30,000. They need to up the budget so that they can hire somebody one of these days. You can't attract somebody at that pay scale with no benefits or no nothing. So, I don't see that we're going to be hiring a flower watering person.
Mr. Ricker, why wouldn't DPW do one?
Last year, it was a point of contention because I believe the previous year, there was an issue with coordination and the arrival of the baskets came on a Saturday when it kind of, not last year, the year before, it kind of, like, on first contact, it went south because the plants, I guess, arrived at DPW and no one was there to maintain them, and they were already at a deficit by the following week, is my understanding, something along those lines.
I don't remember that, Joe. I know that they did water them at DPW for a few days
No,
before they got them up, but.
They did, but that was how they came about, and then the constant maintenance of watering, it has been a challenge for DPW. And last year, just
Was
due to the
hot.
lack of, you guys don't think you had planned it in advance and the collective
Oh, no,
understanding
we
was
decided not to do it last year. Yeah, we just knew because it's been going on for 3 years or at least. So they may have gotten a bad start that year, but it's been at least 3 years that they go up, they do well for a while, and then
It's not just watering,
midsummer.
it's also maintenance of them and trimming them and anything else that needs to be done to them. It's not as simple as just, someone has to have a bit of a trained eye as well, too.
Do we have the equipment to even do the watering? Do we have a
I believe
water
you
truck or
actually had a
something?
gator that-
We have a gator.
Yeah. Well, the banners are going to be new next year too, so you'll be using banners next year. End of flower story, right? I mean, you could do an initiative downtown to encourage people to put beautiful plants out. That'll give us more greenery and
Oh,
on an
absolutely.
individual basis, and then they're responsible for it. That's one way to incorporate more.
And along with the grant for banners, we've also put in for a couple other on-ground planters, which are also something that was new, that have a big water reservoir, and obviously they only have to be watered once a week. Not watered, the reservoir filled up. So we'll get a couple more of those out, and we will keep on working on putting flowers at this level instead of that level.
Any other questions?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Mr. Ricker, what are we doing next?
I believe there's one sheet there, just there's a recap if you want for things on the capital improvements plans. We covered to some extent the previous, everything on there is what you see for this fiscal year, pending grant acquisition, so.
Mr. Riker, what page
Oh,
are you
I'm
on?
sorry, this is just a synopsis of, it's page 106. But it,
All the details are.
Oh, six.
So we spoke about this to some extent in Budget Workshop 1. We just wanted to put that in there just to touch base, that those are all the collective efforts within the CIP for this year. A lot of them have grants attached to them. Pending getting the grant will also dictate the execution of it. Whether we get the grant first of all, and then the timing of it and the execution of it within this fiscal year possibly, or into the next year.
Okay. The EPA grant, you show 1.4 million. Is that still in the request mode?
That is for North Washington Broadacre. No, that's one of the ones that we had received, or that we've been awarded, I should say.
Okay, so it was awarded. Is that the one that had certain strings attached that would slow down its implementation?
I don't believe that's the one that has it.
So,
So that should be corrected.
The entire project is 1.4. The grants were for 17.
Yeah, so that should be, we'll have to make a correction to that the grant is for 710 and not the 1.4.
okay, so they're matching, essentially matching us.
We have a match.
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll put in 700,000, they'll put in 700,000.
At least a portion of it is grant funded.
Yes. Yes, it didn't give the specific amount of the
Page
grant.
106. So, okay. So we're just waiting for the money at this point.
Yes, sir, and we're working with AEW as far as, I believe a local community just recently started going through the hoops, and it doesn't necessarily pay to be the first, so they work out the kinks as far as the process is concerned. AEW is working with that community, and we expect that we'll have a more efficient execution once we make the positive contact and get things moving.
So in other words, we're lumping our project together with another community?
No, sir. What I'm saying is the process of executing those funds, that sequence of events hasn't fully been fleshed out, and so AEW is like learning the ropes with another community, and then we will then benefit from their experience.
So this is a new enough grant
Yes,
process
sir.
that
Yes, sir.
everybody's
Yeah.
learning?
Yeah, I can get you the exact acronym soup as to what it came out of, but it's under the current presidential administration that is, it's not ARPA, it's thank you, congressional earmarks, but then it falls under another program as well.
Yeah, it's on the federal program, so. Okay.
I think so, yeah, but.
Okay.
So, if there's any need for greater fidelity on the capital improvements, whether it's by project, or if there's any additional questions you have in regards to fund, or anything by budget between now and the 16th, we are available in advance to answer any questions or concerns. We also do have on the agenda, we had planned tomorrow as a meeting, but we did have a conflicting activity that I think the council was interested in trying to work with the administration to possibly get this done tonight. And if it is your pleasure, to the clerk, we just simply have to state that that meeting is no longer needed and just post a cancellation notice, or?
Yep, I would just put up an agenda that says canceled. And
If that
then
is
put
your-
something on the Facebook page that's about what we do.
If that is your pleasure, or potentially, if you wanted to, you could adjourn the meeting and then go and join, and then come back, and so you have options, but whether it is tomorrow, some continuation, or between now and the 16th, I do We will get you all the information for the DDA so that we're all on the same page. And any questions or whatever your desire is for tomorrow, we're here to support.
Does anyone feel the need to meet tomorrow?
No, I got a feeling the need to meet before the 16th with all the added information about DDA and the library and all that, so.
That's fine. We can,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm thinking out loud, so go ahead.
No,
You think out loud.
we're already past this first meeting in May, so,
Right.
I mean, it would require a special meeting, if necessary, for it, or we could schedule a budget workshop now, or I can give you the information, and as, I think the desire is that council wants to have the warm fuzzy that the DDA is in understanding of the current situation and is in support of the documents that'll go before you. If I can provide that with a high level of fidelity, will that suffice?
Yeah, but I want to still have a backup in case it doesn't. I mean, we don't know what you're going to send.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
If you feel the need for another meeting, we will schedule another meeting before the 16th. It's not a problem. And then if you get the information and you say, I'm satisfied, then we don't have to have the next meeting.
That works fine.
Why don't we go that route? We'll just.
We need 18 hours to call a special meeting,
Why
so
don't we just pick
you
a
don't have to
date
do it
today?
now if you don't want to.
Because we're just sitting here, let's just pick an arbitrary date, give him enough time to provide the information that you're requesting in the first place. Just pick a date, and then if we don't want it, we don't have to have it, right?
That's true. You can
Because
cancel
It's
that,
going to
too.
be a workshop anyway, so we can just cancel it, like we canceled this one. Is that
Tomorrow.
agreeable to everyone?
Yeah, I'll be out of town on the 10th.
Okay.
That's the only date. I can work around other things.
Or we can call it on the fly. It doesn't matter to me, I just want to ensure everyone's satisfied with whatever we do.
18 hours.
18 hours. That is a fly.
That is a whole lot.
Not a helicopter fly, but the fly. So,
I think we'll be able to produce the information with a high level of fidelity and enough time to give you a request for a meeting if it's necessary.
Okay, so Glenn, you said not the 8th? That's your only?
Not the 10th, but I need to, I can't do the 8th because that's my other, I need to coach my team that night because I will not be on the 10th. The 11th works?
That's a Thursday?
Well, let's wait until we get the
Thursday, yeah.
information and call it that day.
Well, I just want to make sure if we are going to call a meeting, if certain people have constraints for scheduling, it's good to know it now as opposed to trying to squeeze something in. So tentatively, the 11th, does that
sounds
work
good.
for everyone?
Workshop,
we need to
7
have
o'clock
one?
if necessary.
Perfect, right? I mean, does that work? Is that agreeable for everyone?
Yeah.
If we need to call the special workshop, we will call it for the 11th at 7 PM.
5/11 at 7.
Good?
Perfect.
What else do we have for today?
That concludes budget workshop 2, ma'am.
Need a motion to adjourn?
After we tell everyone thank you for spending their evening with us and in presenting and being passionate about the city of Clausen and, being the best part of Clausen, as you all are. So then you can.
You just adjourn it. Doesn't have to, you just hit together.
Okay, we're just out of here.
Yep, it's a workshop. It's just done.
I feel like you changed the rules.